Comcast says it will make voluntary concessions to get the official okay for its plans for an NBC Universal joint venture. Craig Moffett, a senior analyst at Sanford C. Bernstein, says the merger may still take about a year to pass regulatory hurdles. He joins us now with his assessment of the deal. Craig, great to see you.
Good to see you again.
So you were telling me in the break, and we teased this earlier, that you're saying that this is facing regulatory hell. Detail that.
Well, remember, this is coming into Congress in a Democratic administration that is unabashedly anti-big media. And it comes during a midterm election cycle when you're going to have every would-be media mogul in Congress deciding how they would like to see the media business run. So you're going to have, in addition to all of the consent decree types of conditions, the protections against antitrust power, or vertical market power, you're also going to have all kinds of stuff you can anticipate, things like demands for net neutrality, for a la carte, for lower cable prices, and God knows what else that we haven't thought of yet.
So how have companies prepared for this? What are they doing right now?
Well, I think they've been fairly clear that they wouldn't do this deal if they didn't think that at the end of the regulatory process they would still be better off. Count me as somewhat skeptical that it's going to be that easy. Historically, these kinds of deals, and you can go all the way back to AOL and Time Warner, these kinds of deals have come with very, very big regulatory concessions in order to get them through Congress.
So what kind of concessions do you think Comcast might make? I know today, in fact, Bloomberg News is reporting that it will tell U.S. regulators that it'll increase local and children's programming and offer rivals access to NBC broadcast stations on fair terms.
Well,
is that legitimate?
No, well, it's legitimate, but that's just the opening ante, because saying that they will offer the NBC channels to their competitors, for example, is what's required under the so-called program access rules of the '92 Cable Act. That's already going to be, as I say, just the price of entry. It's what else that's going to come on top of that. I wouldn't be surprised to see anti-blackout provisions, for example, that say if you're in a programming dispute with, say, DirecTV, you can't take the channel off the air while you're negotiating. You'd very likely have binding arbitration provisions. So if you can't reach a price, then it goes to an arbitrator. Those kinds of things. Because remember, the playbook for how you would create value out of a vertical integration in media is pretty obvious, right? You would try to keep channels either exclusive, or you'd try to charge more for channels by charging more to others. Both of those things are pretty obvious to the regulatory bodies, and that's exactly what the conditions are designed to prevent.
You had research saying a lot has been made, as you just said, of the potential for vertical synergies between content and distribution, but too little is made of the cost to achieve them. So what is your research showing on that cost, that extra cost?
Well, again, we don't know yet. This is the opening salvo, and you're probably going to have 12 months of wrangling. There's two separate regulatory processes we have to be aware of. There's the process in either the Department of Justice or the Federal Trade Commission. That's a rule of law test. And then there's the process in the Federal Communications Commission, and that is a public interest test. A public interest test, by definition, is going to be more subjective and therefore leaves the door open to being more political. And we just don't know what's going to come out of that process.
As far as the financials on the deal, shortly before the deal was announced, you lowered your price target on Comcast to $18. Does that hold?
Yeah, we're still in the same place. And in fact, this has been a very unusual deal in the sense that it was negotiated in public. What we saw today was pretty much what we'd been told to expect for the last 5 weeks. And so we've been taken through this every step of the way. There's not a lot of new information.
Beyond the regulatory hurdles, what other challenges is this merger going to face at this point?
Well, look, I mean, there's a lot of people who have foundered on the rocks of trying to create vertical media companies, everything from Time Warner to News Corp and others, where they have given up the ghost, because this is really hard to do. So the obvious questions, even aside from the regulatory, are how is Comcast going to be better at it than all the people that have come before? I
was just going to ask, do you like, as an analyst in this industry, do you like this model that Comcast NBCU is trying to create?
Honestly, not really. Look, my clients are professional investors, and as a professional investor, you can buy whatever combination of content and distribution you want, and the only thing you can be guaranteed is that you're going to pay 20% less for the content that Comcast did, because they have to pay a control premium. So you haven't really made investors better off just by combining content and distribution. The question is, does the combination become worth more than the sum of the parts? And history says not usually.
We'll leave it there. Craig, thanks for the discussion today on the Comcast NBCU and the hurdles it faces, especially with regulation. So Craig Moffett, is a senior analyst with Bernstein Research.